So my friend Dallas, he's a Christian, right? And so you're Muslim?
Yes, sir.
Uh, you mind giving me your name? That way I don't have to be calling, saying guy with the beard and stuff like that.
You just call me Kobe.
Kobe.
Wait, what are we doing exactly?
Well, we're having a conversation about either religion or God or whatever you believe in. Uh,
Okay.
All right. So the reason why I'm a Christian in opposition to Islam is based out of the Quran. And so if we look at Surah 3, Al Imran, verses 2 to 3, it says that God the Eternal, or Allah, He sent down the gospel and the Torah, which is first telling us that Allah affirms, or the Quran affirms, what came before it, which is the gospel and Torah. We go to Surah 4, 157. It says that Jesus was not crucified, the Son of Mary, Jesus, was not crucified, but it appeared to them as if he was. That's a direct contradiction between affirming the gospel and then denying what happens in the gospel truth. A common objection, which I'm anticipating, is that, well, the gospel has been corrupted. The problem with that is the Quran was compiled shortly after Muhammad's death, 1400 years ago. The 7th century, 600 AD. In Surah 4, 46 and 47, it says that the people of the gospel are right to rule according to what Allah revealed in the gospel. So this tells us that at least up until the compilation of the Quran, the gospel was still pure. Why does this matter? Saint Hieronymus, or Jerome, compiled the Latin Vulgate for Pope Damasus I in 400s to the 380s to 400s. One of the first universal Bibles. Even predating that, we have the Codex Sinaiticus. Both of these documents affirm the crucifixion, as opposed to the Quran, which denies the crucifixion. So the Quran bases itself on what came before it, the gospel, but then denies what the gospel states. That's a contradiction in thought. That's all I had to. That's my opening statement.
hey Dallas, I appreciate the feedback, but I want to I just want to get some more from Kobe as far as what else is there that you're a Muslim?
So, one of it, not the biggest, but one of the biggest reasons that I would say I'm a Muslim is the fact that many Christians, and I'm sure this is going to be debated, but growing up a Christian, I've seen it firsthand. A lot of Christians worship Jesus, and Jesus never said, "I am God." He said, "Worship my Father." But if you go to any church, there's what? A picture of Jesus on the cross, right? When you go to a masjid, a mosque, we don't have a picture of Muhammad because he was the prophet, but we don't worship him. There's no picture of Muhammad. Christianity just seems to me like they're truly worshiping Jesus, and I don't agree with that because that's pretty blasphemous to worship another human being. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me at all. But and then another main point is that you look at Islam, we have three prophets: Abraham, the prophet of the Jews; Jesus, the prophet of the Christians; and Muhammad, the prophet of Muslims. But we value all three. We believe in all three. Now I know very little about Judaism, but I know in Christianity I never learned about Muhammad being a prophet. Now, maybe my church was different. There's different Methodist, Baptist, Catholic, Lutheran. Variations. But the Christianity I grew up in, we never learned about Muhammad. We touched a little bit on Abraham, but I don't believe he's considered a prophet in Christianity. Feel free to correct me on that. Yeah, we believe in all three prophets, and we definitely believe in Jesus. We just do not we even believe in the virgin birth, but we don't believe he's the Son of God, the Holy Trinity. It just seems very blasphemous to me to worship Jesus.
I appreciate that. Yes, you can respond.
Okay. So Jesus never apparently says, "I am God, worship me." Because if he did say that word for word, "I am God," at the time there was many people claiming to be God. But the God of the Israelites, of which they would Yahweh, has a different title than just God in general. Polytheism was booming at the time. And then there's this book, it's a series of books called Jews in the Time of Jesus. And so if Jesus were to say directly that I am God, worship me, the perception would be, oh, he's just claiming to be another polytheistic God. Keep in mind, under this time, Roman influence is very high on the kingdom of Israel where he was preaching, and so paganism and polytheism was very high at the same time. So they would have just made the idea that he's just claiming to be another pagan god, like what the Pharaoh was doing, essentially. Now, when Jesus says, I am, he's uttering the same thing that God utters to Moses in Exodus chapter 3, when he says, when Moses says, who shall I say sent me? And God says, I am sent you. And so that was the claim to be God, and that's why they considered him blasphemous and sent him to the cross in the first place. Of which he did go to the cross, and so that's my biggest bone to pick with Islam at the moment, is that besides Aisha and Muhammad, we'll get to that later, but that's more of a historicity argument. But to deny the crucifixion, which is historical fact, it doesn't make any sense. And to affirm a book which also affirms the crucifixion, but then deny the crucifixion, it's a contradiction in thought. So Jesus does say...
are you talking about the Quran? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so the Quran in Surah 4:157 says that it only appeared as Jesus was crucified, that he really wasn't crucified. So technically, I guess that gets rid of all historical sources like Philo, Josephus, and Eusebius, but that doesn't get rid of the Gospels because it affirms the Gospel in Surah 3:2-3. So that's a very big contradiction, because you built your book on a book that disagrees with you. So you're building the Quran on the Bible, or the Gospel, the Injil, which disagrees with the Quran. And so it's a very big contradiction. And we know that we have, even if you want to say that what we have today is corrupted, like the Bible right here, my CSB Apologetics Bible, if you want to say that this is corrupted, so be it. But we have texts that predate the Quran by over 300 years. And so either God is really slow, Allah is really slow to send his next book, or the Bible is, it was true at that time. And if you want to say that it's corrupted now, go ahead. But we have Bibles that predate the idea that it was even corrupted in the first place. And so, I don't. There's no proof that it's corrupted. You can't provide me a constant variable to show me that it's corrupted, an uncorrupted gospel to compare to a corrupted one. And so we're just kind of going out on a limb here, and not.
I can pull it up on my phone, but Omegle wouldn't close out, so I can't do that.
I mean, I can. And so if we want to move to another topic, because we have been discussing kind of the same thing, what do you think about Aisha, Caleb? Or Cody, I bet.
Kobe.
Kobe, what do you think about Aisha?
So I find it very funny, the whole thing. Let's just put it out there. People who are not Muslim think Muhammad was a pedophile. Let's be brutally honest here.
Mm-hmm.
That took place over what's the matter? At least 1,400 years ago, right? 1,300 something, some change. Back then, that was completely normal for older men to marry young women. And also, the Torah says the age for girls to be married away, not have sex, but to be married away by their father is 3 years old, I do believe, if I remember that number correctly. It's under 10. The Roman Catholic Church... The Roman Catholic Church set the precedent at 7 years old. I think girls could be married away.
No, it didn't.
It did. The first Roman Catholic head of the Roman Catholic Church, he set the precedent at 7. You can.
Who was the first head of the Catholic Church?
I can't remember his name.
And what source are we using? I can. Okay, so what? Okay, so first and foremost,
literally in historical text, it says the age of marriage for young girls is 7 years old. The very first head of the Roman Catholic Church said that as the president.
Do you understand the problem?
Hold on.
All right. Hold on. Go ahead, Kobe.
So the Torah says 3. The first leader of the Roman Catholic Church says 7 years old. It is well documented that Aisha had her menstrual cycle. Therefore, biologically, that makes her a woman. Now, I'm not saying that in today's time that would be normal. Obviously, we have laws, and it is very strange in today's times, in the path the world has taken since then, we do not marry young women anymore. Of course, it happens in other countries, and even in America, it happens here, but it's frowned upon. So to fault Muhammad for marrying a young girl, which I would like to reiterate, yes, in today's times, it is strange. But to fault him and call him a pedophile and say somehow that removes credibility from Islam or whatever you want to say, it's just simply silly to me. That was a completely different time. We don't talk about how many kings and emperors and generals of less than 1400 years ago in the last 400 or 500 years married extremely young women, and we don't fault them for that. It's very hypocritical to me. I mean, you can look at Edgar Allan Poe. You can look at Edgar Allan Poe, one of the most revered poets of all time. He married his cousin at like 13 years old.
Okay, well then I'll condemn you.
You can't really fault someone from 1400 years ago.
Okay,
It's just that's silly. That's not how things were back then.
Yeah. So you said that Aisha had hit her menstrual cycle and therefore she was a woman. If she hadn't have hit her menstrual cycle, would it have been immoral for Muhammad to have sex with her?
Yeah, he even said that.
Oh, okay. So it would have been immoral for Muhammad to have sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl. You agree with me on this?
Repeat that again. I didn't hear you.
Do you agree that it would have been immoral if Aisha was prepubescent, right, meaning she hadn't hit puberty yet? Do you think it would have been immoral?
Yeah, I said yes, but that's not the case.
Okay. All right. So let's look. Okay, we're gonna go from Bukhari and Muslim again. Okay. Let's look at Sahih Bukhari 61:30. I used to play with dolls in the presence of the Prophet, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. When Allah's messenger used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves, but the Prophet would call them to join to play with me. The playing with dolls and similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at the time, as she was a little girl and had not yet reached the age of puberty. Let's look at Sahih Muslim 3481. I gotta scroll down a little bit. Okay, Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, reported that Allah's apostle married her when she was 7 years old, and then he was taken to her house as a bride when she was 9, and her dolls were with her. So we understand that her dolls were with her when she was taken to be consummated. As we can look at Sahih Bukhari 51:33, which tells us that the marriage was consummated when she was 9. She had her dolls when she was taken for the marriage to be consummated, which means by Islamic hadith, she was prepubescent, and Muhammad had sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl. They climbed atop a prepubescent 9-year-old girl, and I'm not going to get more vulgar than that. But so yes, you just condemned your own prophet.
This is where I really just disagree with Christians, is because you take verses, or whether it be Judaism, Islam, whatever, you take it and you make it so it fits your narrative, but you're not really looking at it for what it is. It's literally well documented that he did not consummate the marriage until she was pubescent. It says she was sent off.
Can you provide me a source?
Before, but that just because they got married does not mean that they had sex right away. They didn't consummate the marriage until later. It's very well known in Islam.
All right, so let's go and just look at it. Let me pull up Sahih Bukhari 51:33, and we're going to read it. We're going to read all three, and we're going to start with Sahih Bukhari 51:33. Then we're going to go to Sahih Bukhari 61:30, and then we're going to go to Sahih Muslim 3481. And what's your name again, main man? Moderator?
David.
David. Okay, I want you to tell me what you derive from this text. Okay, Sahih Bukhari 51:33. The Prophet married her when she was 6 years old and consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old, and then she remained with him for 9 years, i.e. until his death. Okay, so we understand that the consummation of a marriage is having sex. That's how marriages were consummated back then. The marriage became, that's the true officiality of the marriage. It was technically official when she was 6 or 7, as the Muslim will tell us, but it was consummated when she was 9. Let's flip it to Sahih Bukhari 61:30. I used to play with dolls in the presence of the prophets, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. When Allah's messenger used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves, but the Prophet would call them to join and play with me. The playing with dolls and similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at the time, as she was a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty. Now, let's look at Sahih Muslim 3481. Aisha reported that Allah's apostle married her when she was 7 years old, and she was taken to his house as a bride when she was 9 years old, and her dolls were with her. When she was 9, as Sahih Bukhari 51:33 tells us, is when the marriage was consummated. And so I don't think it could be any more clear that he had sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl. I mean, how can I take this out of context? How can I take the prophet when she married her when she was 6 years old and consummated it when she was 9 years old? I don't know how I could take that out of
Because
context.
you literally are taking it out of context. It says
Okay,
you,
yeah,
you are
okay.
somehow
How?
equating that she had her dolls with her. That doesn't equate to that doesn't really prove anything. Like what? Yeah, she was a little girl. She played with dolls. Yes, her dolls went with her when she went to Muhammad's house.
You're right.
When
It's
she
like
was 9.
That doesn't.
Sahih
What?
Bukhari 16, it does matter. You just admitted that she had her dolls with her, which means that you're admitting she was prepubescent, because Sahih Bukhari 6133 says that dolls are forbidden for girls that are post the age of puberty, which means she was prepubescent. She had her dolls with her when she was taken to a 54-year-old man's house to be penetrated.
Yeah, taken there. She wasn't. She of course she took her dolls with her, but she was.
If you go to a prepubescent 9-year-old girl,
it does not mean she kept them after that. Where does it say that she kept the dolls after becoming a woman? It doesn't. So it's really a stretch. That's really a stretch.
On the Sahih Muslim 3481, is that saying that at age of 9, that's when it was consummated?
So Sahih Bukhari 5133 tells us that the marriage was consummated when she was 9. Sahih Muslim 6130 tells us that playing with dolls is prohibited for girls that have reached the age of puberty, which is telling us that Aisha hasn't reached the age of puberty, even says it explicitly.
And she was
and
9.
then Sahih Muslim, she was 9. Your point? And then Sahih Muslim 3041 tells us that when she was 9 years old and she was taken to the Prophet's house to consummate the marriage, she had her dolls with her, which is literally saying she's a prepubescent 9-year-old girl. Did the dirty.
You're making a connection that's not there. That literally doesn't say that she. This is really silly. I'm sorry.
It doesn't say it. Hey,
David, you're trying to make a point that's not there.
Yeah,
David, can you send him my hadith and just so he can fact check me?
I sent it to him, but if he looks it up on his phone, it's gonna mess up the.
Well, then can you look it up just to make sure I'm not just lying here?
Well, I can hold on one second. I can pop it up for him. 1 second. Hello. Oh, come on. I encourage you, if you want to see more Christ topic content, please subscribe to the Christ Topics. You can go to my TikTok, Christ Topics, hit that bell for the notifications so you can see more Christ Topics content. All right? Thank you, and God bless.